Hi guys, and welcome to another video lesson. Today we're going to be looking at the 7/8 time signature. So first up, let me talk about odd time a little bit. Odd time is very arrogantly named by us here in the West as anything that's pretty much not in 4. There are a couple of exceptions. There are things called compound time like 6/8, 12/8, 3/8, 9/8. Technically speaking, they're not odd time. Odd time is anything that's not 4/4. In fact, 4/4 is often referred to as common time because it is so common in the West. As I said, it's a little bit arrogant of us. If you went to Africa or India or South America and said common time 4/4, they'd look at you with probably puzzled, quizzical faces. It is quite a sort of arrogant thing for us to say almost, but common time is 4/4. Almost anything that's not in 4/4 is deemed odd time. So let me just say before we get started, this isn't an official kind of drum or music theory thing. This is a Phil Pageism here, but this is how I go about dealing with odd time. Lots of drummers will have different ways of managing odd time. We get very comfortable in 4/4. We get very used to 4/4, and anything that isn't in 4, oh, it's scary, it's odd time, I don't like it. This is my personal opinion. Do I always do this? No, I'm guilty of getting this wrong myself. But this is how I approach odd time. I think the reason why odd time is so difficult is we're not very good at counting normal time. 4/4 is what we consider normal common time, as I've already said. If we're not counting every single note all of the time in 4/4, if we can't count every subdivision there is for 4/4, every one beat subdivision, every different permutation for playing in 4, then of course we're going to struggle as soon as we go out of 4. Further to that, I know a lot of people count 7/8 or any other odd time signature. Today we're just focusing on 7/8, so I'll focus on that. I know a lot of people count 7/8 in lots of different ways. They count to 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, rather than 7, because that has 2 syllables and you end up counting to 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I know some people count it 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Basically, they've invented new ways of counting time. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not criticizing that. I'm not saying that's wrong. But what I am saying, for me, that doesn't make any sense. We've spent all this time learning and perfecting how to count in 4. 4/4. Well, 4/4 is actually 8/8 and 16/16. So rather than relearning how to count, rather than reinventing the wheel as it were, if I want to play in 7/8, I take something I know very well, which is 4/4 or 8/8, and I just take one note away. So rather than counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 or 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, if I would normally count 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and in 4/4, well in 7/8, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And just don't count that last and. So if I count it over and over, I get this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. What that also means is everything that I've learned how to do in 4/4, I can now play in 7/8. All I've got to do is remember to chop that last quaver off. You hear a lot of people play something in 4/4 and it's very fast and it's very flashy and they'll do all their crazy stuff and then they'll have a bar of 7/8 or a different odd time signature and suddenly be like, oh my goodness, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, thank goodness that's over. There's no need for that. If you can already play something in 4/4 and it's complicated and it's crazy and it's cool and it's clever, to turn it into 7/8, you take one note away. Keep counting the way you normally would do and just take the last note off. I'll get off my soapbox and we'll actually start playing some drums. I'm not having a go at anybody that doesn't count the same way as me. Of course I'm not. And there'll be people that can make 7/8 work counting in a variety of different ways, different to me, and that is absolutely fine. We are all different. There are many, many different ways to play this instrument and to understand it. That is totally fine. Please hear me. I am not criticizing anyone for doing it differently to me. All I'm saying is I found odd time incredibly difficult until I adopted the methodology I was just talking about, this idea of taking something I know and removing one note from the end. So let's put this into practice. We'll start with something we know very well, a syncopated groove in 4/4. I'm going to play this at 70 beats per minute and loop it round and round. Here we go. Now, to turn that into a 7/8 groove, I need to get rid of 1/8, one quaver. Okay, well the groove that we just played, 1 and 2 and a 3E and 4 and, That leans itself nicely to this. All I've got to do is take that last and away, remove that hi-hat. So I'll be left with 1 and 2 and a 3E and 4. 1 and 2 and a 3E and 4. When you're counting this, try and avoid leaving a gap after 4. It's no good going 1 and 2 and a 3E and 4. 1 and 2, because you've rested and you've left enough space to bring yourself back into 4. You will naturally, your brain will desperately be trying to get you back to 4 at every single opportunity. We've got to make sure that we're counting really carefully all the way through. Here's what the groove sounds like at 70 beats per minute. You might want to pause the video here and go away and try and experiment with this idea of 7/8 grooves. Take any groove you like, play something that you know really, really well, play one of your favourite grooves, and then take the last quaver away and try and loop it round in 7. So now that we're comfortable playing 7/8 grooves, let's take a look at 7/8 fills. We're going to use the same approach as we just did with the groove. We're going to take a fill that we already know how to play. I've gone for a linear fill that combines quavers and semiquavers around the kit. I'll play that 4/4 fill for you first. Wow, there was a lot of F's in that sentence. Here we go with the 4/4 fill that we're going to play first. 70 beats per minute, here it comes. Okay, so working from the back of the bar, where is that final quaver? Well, it was on the snare drum. I played 4E and for that final note, so that's the one that we've got to get rid of. So it's going to end 4E instead of 4E and. So here's the exact same fill in 7/8 minus that quaver. Here we go. So let's take that 7/8 fill that we've just learned and put it with the 7/8 groove to form a 3/1 resolve. Now, one thing to watch out for here is the crash at the beginning of the resolve. With the 7/8 fill, you're ending with the right hand. I know the last note is a bass drum, but the last hand that you play is a right, or left if you're left-handed, a lead hand I should say, on the snare drum. Now, there is just about enough time to get the right hand up, or your lead hand, sorry, get it up onto the crash cymbal and carry on the groove. It might be easier just to crash with your non-lead hand. So you'll see me crash with my left hand a few times here because I find it slightly easier. It's the lesser of two evils. Left hand crashing is harder than right hand crashing, but it's easier in this situation than trying to get the right hand up and then down to the hi-hat. Experiment with both options for yourself. If you prefer crashing with your lead hand, fine. If you'd rather crash with your non-lead hand, that's fine too. As with any resolve, we're looking for that smooth transition from fill to groove. Whichever sticking gets that done is the right one. So there you go, a really quick look at 7/8. As I said earlier, try this with your own grooves and fills. Take what you're playing and get rid of that final quaver to put it in 7/8. If you're playing something in 16th notes, it's the last two notes that have to go. So the and ah, we need to get rid of both of those to get ourselves into 7/8. If you prefer, you can think of it as 14/16. So for example, if you're playing 1 E-ander, 2 E-ander, 3 E-ander, 4 E-ander. Hopefully you're not playing a fill grouped in fours around the kit as your favourite fill at this stage. Hopefully you've moved on from there and you've developed that fill. But if that's what you're playing, 1 E-ander, 2 E-ander, 3 E-ander, 4 E is where the 7/8 version of that fill will finish. The and the ah have to go. Have some fun with that, experiment and see what you can come up with. So that's it for today's lesson. I hope you enjoyed that, guys. If you've got any questions, please feel free to get in touch. If you're watching this on YouTube, leave a comment down below and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Stay safe and enjoy your drumming.